Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Look us up in the sports section on Roku. We're there, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Within the last 24 hours, in my opinion, the best heavyweight of the post-Lennox Lewis era. In other words, we're going back to the start of the century. The best heavyweight, Vitali Klitschko, has announced that he will not be returning to the sport. If longevity is a sign of a man's greatness, just understand that Vitali Klitschko, who is leaving as heavyweight champion, first obtained a portion of the belt in the late 1990s, in 1999. Over that 15-year period of time, Vitali Klitschko at different times held a heavyweight championship, was champion emeritus, beat numerous guys who at different times themselves held the belt, right? Sam Peter, for example, right? Fought guys in their backyards, Chris Arreola in Southern California, Tomasz Adamik in Poland, right? Amassed one of the sport's best knockout ratios, and simply put, dominated his fights in a way that we haven't seen in recent memory. Now understand, he lost twice. In both fights, at the time the fights were stopped, he was ahead. His first loss was to Chris Bird. I know Chris Bird is now online analyzing boxing matches. I watch his videos all the time. I encourage everyone to do so. But just understand that when Vitali Klitschko had to leave that fight, when he had to tell the referee he couldn't continue, he had torn out his shoulder, right? The kind of injury that sidelines major league pitchers for months, if not seasons. And just understand that at the time of the end of that fight, Vitali Klitschko on each judge's scorecard was winning the match by 5 rounds. Right? The second loss, to me, is the most meaningful heavyweight title fight of the, let's say, last 15 years. It was his bout against Lennox Lewis. It's a passing of the torch bout. Here again, all 3 judges had Vitali Klitschko winning the fight by 2 rounds. All 3. I was watching the fight live. I thought Vitali Klitschko was winning the fight. It was one of those moments in boxing, right? I encourage everyone to look at the fight because you're going to see the greatness in both fighters, right? Lennox Lewis, to his credit, after a sluggish start, made adjustments, started landing punches. He opened a cut on Vitali Klitschko. The cut was very bad. Vitali Klitschko, being a warrior, wanted to continue. They stopped the fight. Lennox Lewis wisely at that moment understood that it was time to retire. It arguably is one of Lewis's best moments ever in the ring. And it was his last fight. And the guy he fought would then go on to hold the heavyweight championship later for several years. Right? Understand, Klitschko had excellent defense. You're talking about a guy who could lean and had the gift of timing. He had devastating power. has one of the highest KO ratios for a heavyweight champ in recent memory. He also was fearless in that he would travel to places like Southern California to take on local favorite son, Chris Arreola. And of course he wins that fight by stoppage. He travels to Poland to take on favorite son Tomasz Adamek. And of course he wins that fight by stoppage. Some would say, I would say, that Tomasz Adamek has not been the same fighter since that fight. Right? When Vitali Klitschko beat you up, it was so brutal. It was so brutal that sometimes lawsuits arose after the fight on whether the fight should have been stopped. Right? The Shannon Briggs beating by Vitali Klitschko is one of the most brutal beatings I've ever seen in my life. This guy was a puncher. This guy was a boxer. He doesn't have moments in his career that his brother has had. There's no Corey Sanders fight. Well, there is, right? Vitali Klitschko won that fight, but there's no Corey Sanders moment like his brother had. There's no Layman Brewster moment like his brother had. There's no Evander Holyfield moment or a Buster Douglas moment like Mike Tyson had. Right? There are no losses to fighters with only 7 professional fights like Muhammad Ali had. Let me also say, too, that when you look at Klitschko, you can tell he's a great athlete. Because whatever he needs to do, he does. If you look at the Derek Chisora film, and it wasn't one of Klitschko's best fights, he won it, though, right? And Chisora is still in the mix for a heavyweight title. So there are contenders out there right now who have lost to Vitali Klitschko. But if you look at the Derek Chisora fight, you're going to notice that Vitali Klitschko moves around the ring very well. Right? He didn't have to in many fights because he was the dominant puncher in the ring. But when needed, he could. He had that kind of skill level. I would encourage everyone to look closely at his record. I believe he is one of the all-time greats. I certainly believe he is the best heavyweight of the post-Lennox Lewis era. Right? Look at his record. Look at Lewis's record. Right? Another great heavyweight. Then entertain yourself one afternoon by watching the fight. Understanding that while Klitschko was training for a fight, he wasn't training to fight Lennox Lewis. What happened is the Kirk Johnson-Lennox Lewis fight fell apart. So Vitali Klitschko, on 2 weeks' notice, decided to take on, in my opinion, another all-time great. Right? This would be like someone deciding on 2 weeks' notice, hey, why don't I just shift gears and fight Floyd Mayweather? And of course, Vitali Klitschko's not running in the fight. He's standing toe-to-toe with Lennox Lewis, and he's beating Lennox Lewis, right? I encourage everyone to take a look at that fight. The man himself in his career, he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. One man's opinion. Let's talk about Floyd against Maidana for a moment. Let's just talk what I call math. It's angles. If I'm a right-handed fighter and I'm fighting Floyd Mayweather, let's understand where Mayweather's going to be, right? I'm here. Mayweather's going to be off and to my left. That's where he's going to be. He's going to be off at the side in front of me to my left. Right? Understand the problem with fighting Mayweather. Think about the footwork. He's going to have his lead foot outside my lead foot. Just visualize the fight. He's going to have his lead foot outside of my lead foot unless he's throwing punches. If he's throwing punches, then he's going to slide his lead foot inside my lead foot. And understand, Mayweather has an economy of punches, right? Doesn't throw a lot of jabs, but he has a devastating left hand that no one in the sport talks about enough. It's devastating, right? When he steps over with his left hand, he can throw hooks to your head and hooks to your body. But keep in mind, he's still not in front of you. He's just slid his foot over a little bit. So you're only seeing part of his body in front of you. And as he's throwing those left hands, understand it's very hard to come across your body to hit him with your right hand. Understand, if your left hand is wide, Mayweather is always prepared, right, on his right side to block the punch. He can fight out of a crouch, right? He does so much better than Adrian Broner, right? And he ducks his head, he leans back, and he has a hand up. Even when you land that left hook, he's going to block it. In other words, it's going to hit his hand. It's very hard to get inside on Mayweather when he's in the middle of the ring. Understand, too, that him sliding his foot over your foot takes incredible timing. It's like hitting a baseball. You look at young guys and you don't see anything remotely resembling this level of footwork, right? Mayweather has built-in lateral movement because he makes sure defensively he's never fully in front of you. Unless, of course, you're badly hurt and you're reeling around the ring like Arturo Gatti was. Right now, in recent interviews, Maidana's corner has indicated that Maidana is going to throw 100 punches around. He's going to try to overwhelm Floyd Mayweather. Right? First, let me say a couple of things. Mayweather's style decreases the punch output of the other fighter. Right? If he's outside, on my left, has his foot outside my foot, what am I throwing punches at? Right? If I know my punches aren't going to land, why throw them at all? Right? Just food for thought. Also, some punches, when he's over here, outside, and it's fluid. Understand, he's not running. He's using footwork. Right? When he has his lead foot outside my lead foot, and he's over here, doesn't that take the sting out of my right hand? Right? With regard to the left, right? If I'm not a great jabber, if I'm relying on left hooks, and Mayweather is crouched, so that left hook to the body doesn't quite get there. Right? Think about it. We've seen some great left hookers to the body. Miguel Cotto comes to mind. Fight Mayweather, and Mayweather didn't go down off a kidney punch. Wasn't concerned, didn't look like he was being worked over to the body. Right? I believe against Marcus Maidana, Maidana's going to find that Mayweather has his left hook blocked. What I've found is that many fighters will give up on punches if they realize they can't land the punch. right? Let me also say, too, that Mayweather moves a lot more than Adrian Broner. He's much more three-dimensional, much more up and down. Fights from a crouch. Broner's pretty straight up. Mayweather has a lower center of gravity and can get low when he needs to. So I believe Maidana, in the middle of the ring, is going to find that he can't hit Mayweather. Let me go one step further. We don't think of Mayweather as a body puncher. I believe Mayweather's a devastating body puncher. Right? That left hand especially. When he starts hitting you to the body with that left hand, that slows down many fighters. If you're a gambler thinking about taking Mayweather by decision, I'd be hesitant. Look at the Arturo Gatti tape before you do. When Mayweather has a hand speed advantage on an offensive fighter who leaves himself open for counters, there is a possibility that Mayweather closes the show. Right? I don't think Maidana is going to know how to deal with Mayweather as he's off at the side, slips in, and is throwing lead right hands up top and down low. Maidana did go down off a body shot against Amir Khan. Let me talk about, too, one of the reasons why Khan is a harder matchup for Mayweather than Marcus Maidana. And it comes down to that lead foot. Right? Marcus Maidana stands in the ring. You know where his lead foot is. He's not doing an Ali shuffle. He's not switching his feet like Ray Leonard. His feet are where they are. With Amir Khan, you don't know where his lead foot's going to be. Because often Khan, who, at least with Freddie Roach, used to be an ambush fighter, would be far back. Look at the Khan Zab Judah tape. He'd be far back. Then he comes in and he has the hand speed. So he can just drop the foot, not give an opponent an opportunity to plan a slide over when that opponent's ready to throw punches. He can just drop the foot and get off punches immediately. That's a different dynamic than's going to be here. Also, Khan has an excellent left jab that's straight. Right? In this fight, you're going to be missing a lot of the straight punches from Marcus Maidana. Right? Maidana's power is really on his hooks and punches from weird angles. Right? The greater the angle on Maidana's left hand, the easier Floyd Mayweather is going to block him. Right? The more Maidana stands in front of Mayweather, and Mayweather can figure out his feet, right? Where his lead foot is, the easier it's going to be for Floyd to hit him with left hooks. Right? So the odds on the fight are out of control, I'll agree. Mayweather at 9-1 or 10-1 is just too richly priced to really get significant profits. I believe the risk-reward seems to be off. But I'll tell you what, from where I sit, that might be the best play on this fight. Right? Because if you take Mayweather to win by decision, he just might shock you and drop Maidana. I know Maidana has a great chin, but let's just say I'm expecting him to get hit flush with many shots, right? I likely won't bet on this fight. I don't think gamblers who don't want to give leverage to the casino should bet on this fight. I don't want to bet $100 to win $10 on one play, right? I'll do it if it's a hedge where I think I have, the bases covered. Here, though, it's simply too risky. The casino has drained this fight of its profit-making capability. Let me just say this, though. If I were to fool around with props, I would like Mayweather in the second half of the fight to a decision. In other words, Mayweather's a counterpuncher. It's going to take him a couple of rounds to solve Marcus Maidana. Even the Gotti fight made it to the middle rounds, right? But, as I said before, I think this fight's going to be very different than the Adrian Broner fight, right? Simply put, if Maidana fights exactly the same fight that he fought against Adrian Broner, where he's hunting down Mayweather, he's trying to engage Mayweather, he's trying to turn it into a shootout, I think he ends up on his back. I think he gets stopped, right? I believe what he's going to have to do is to try to use a lot more movement and more of an ambush style. Let me hear from you. What do you think about this fight? Do you think it's bettable? I don't. Right? Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.